Yo, check it out, everybody. It's me, Andy.
And it's me, Sean.
And this here is the Commander's Brew.
This week we're brewing Izzet.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Commander's Brew Commander Podcast.
Ooh-wee.
You like that chilled out intro?
Super chill.
Yeah, man. That's because that's what the Izzet League is like.
Welcome to my house.
This is Sean's house. Whose house?
My
Sean's house. Whose house?
My
Sean's
house. Imagine if every song, the person singing, they had to use the correct terms.
What do you mean?
So like whenever you're singing you, the other person has to sing I, or they had to sing my, like instead of singing the same word. I always think about that whenever people do like duets and stuff. It's like you should be singing you, but the other person should be singing me or something like that.
Oh, you mean like I don't get it really.
Well, because
I tried to, but I don't understand what you're saying.
What we did, right? You said whose house?
I said whose house? Run's
my
house, right?
house,
Sean's
right?
house.
But Run would say my house. So
okay, so
you
but to speak in the third person isn't necessarily incorrect.
I suppose that's true.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
That's why I didn't understand what you were talking about.
Because it's not as weird as I think it is.
Well, I mean, it certainly is a bit weird, no question. It's less weird in song lyrics. Yes, I agree.
I guess I just imagine, what if the world was a little bit weirder?
You need it to be weirder?
I like it to be a little bit weirder.
It's pretty weird.
That's how I make my choices.
Yeah. Weirder.
I take the weird choice.
Yeah, hey man, I like that.
You know,
I like that about you.
Anyone in Austin knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, keep Austin weird. Well, then Portland just ripped that off big time.
Did they really?
They sure did.
Get out of here, Portland.
Keep Portland weird.
I mean, I've never
Yeah,
been
they're
to
both
Portland.
weird.
I can't say.
They're both rather weird and cool places also.
I would like to go to Portland.
Me too, yeah. And not just because of Portlandia.
Oh, because of Wizards of the Coast?
Wait, that's not Portland. That's Seattle. That's a whole other state.
Really?
Yeah, Portland's in Oregon.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you're northwest there.
Northwest.
You're in the
You
right
know what?
area.
We are so far away from there. If I was at one, I would go to the other.
Yeah, makes sense.
When am I going to get out there?
Exactly. You're in the northwestern United States. You got to see everything out there.
Yeah, man. I'm going to go to Seattle. I'm going to go to Portland. I'm going to go to Vancouver. I'm going to go to... That's it. Bellingham.
I'm going to go to Fraser's house. I'm going to go see the Trailblazers play. I'm going to go to Northern California.
I'm going to go to Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to San Francisco.
I'm going to go to that weird part of Alaska that drips all the way on down the bottom of BC. Yeah, that little like drip. It looks like it's running down the edge of BC.
Yeah. A real insult to like early settlers of the continent.
A huge burn.
It was like, yo, can we have this sit up here? Yeah, okay. Yo, could we also have all this coastline?
Okay. But you mind if we just drip down right here? See it all the way down there? We're just going to drip down there real quick. You guys mind if we drip that?
Could it drip down here?
Yeah, you mind if we drip down here?
Yo.
Oh, man, Alaska, get out of here.
Yeah, stop dripping on my coast.
At some point, people were like, all right, enough dripping. No more dripping down here. Anyways.
If you know anyone who lives in the drips of Alaska, please let me know.
There's got to be a few people living in the drips, right? There's got to be.
Yo, how's life in the drips?
Got to be some Commander players in the drips.
Drip League?
Oh, my God. Please reach out to us if you're living in the drips. I would love it. Or if you're from BC and you live near the drips.
Yeah, I mean, please give us info about the drips. I need that drip intel.
I need that drip intel, man, big time. That's got to be a highly contested area, the drips.
Oh.
Rightfully Canadian, yet it is American, technically. The American drips.
Oh, my tummy hurts from laughing.
Oh, welcome to Commander's Brew, episode 64. The Izzet League.
64.
The
8
drip
squared.
The drip episode.
Yeah. Yeah, forever known as the drip episode.
That's right. If you're new to the show, you know. Well, you won't know. But we we brew decks, Commander decks, and we do them on a budget, $50 a pop. We'll do them on the same theme. We brew two different ones, one by my man Sean, one by me. We're also sponsored by a really cool store called the Wizard's Tower.
Yeah.
And they're located here in Canada, in our capital city of Ottawa, Ontario.
Let's hear an ad.
Hey everybody, it's me, the veteran motorist from Kaladesh. There's only a few things that are for sure in life. The oval chase is gonna be dusty. The Aetherflux reservoir will one day blow up and kill us all. And cars gotta crash. Luckily, I've survived all of them so far. That's why I'm a veteran motorist and I get to scry too, which is weird for a red and white creature. But anyway, the other thing that's for sure is that you always get a deal at Wizard's Tower, wizardtower.com. If you order your singles there from the US and they cost $10 or more, your shipping's free. Same's true for Canada if it's over $15. And if you use that coupon code Tower of Brews, you get an extra 5% off $15 or more. Plus, you get 3% kickback on your next order. That's a lot of numbers, that's a lot of math, but here's what I do know. It results in savings. And if you can save a couple of seconds on every lap, that wins races. Alright, time to put my helmet on and get back behind the wheel of a runaway garbage truck. Let's hope this one does better than the last time.
It's good to see the veteran motorist.
Yeah.
He was featured in our dad's deck because I felt like dads are generally veteran motorists.
Yeah, last episode, moms versus dads.
Yes, yeah, successful episode, successful brew.
Successful brew.
Our friend Dave, owner of Wizard's Tower, mentioned he wanted to build a kids deck.
Yeah, right.
And like play that in like 3-way commander and have the kids be like fighting the parents. We could definitely Dave, make that deck and send it to us.
Yes, please.
We'll post it.
Yes, please.
Up with our other ones. That'll be really fun.
Also, so what we're doing this week, the theme this week is Izzet.
Izzet. We haven't done a guild in a long time, it feels like.
Selesnya back in the 50s, I think.
Yeah, back in the 50s. It was a simpler time back then.
Yeah, you know.
Innocence.
You know.
The 50s.
You were doctors smoked.
What? Doctor smoked?
There's a time when doctors smoked.
Sorry, I thought you called me Doctor Smoked. I was like, what? Who's that?
Oh,
I'll be Doctor Smoked though. That's a cool name.
Dr. Smoked.
Yeah, back when you were allowed to smoke in hospitals and on planes and stuff. Yeah.
Simpler time.
We also did Azorius a long time ago.
Yeah, we did Azorius. We accidentally did an Azorius again with our no fun decks.
Yeah. That was a good one. But this is correct me if I'm wrong. This is only our third guild based episode.
Officially, maybe
like
I don't
official,
remember.
like calling it like this
maybe.
is our Izzet one.
Maybe
I don't think we've ever done any of the other ones.
I don't recall.
Anyway, so that's cool. This is Sean's favorite guild.
Yeah.
Although you're not wearing your guild shirt.
I'm not. It's too cold out now to just wear a t-shirt around.
But you are wearing a t-shirt.
I'm wearing layers.
And this is indoors. We're not doing this out in the freezing cold.
I didn't want to try too hard.
This guy's
for the
full of
Izzet
excuses.
episode.
You know what? I am not afraid to try hard because that's how you accomplish things. If you look at the microphones that we are holding, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll notice that it is blue and red. We've got Izzet microphones right now.
Yeah. The best.
So we're not afraid of that.
So this deck, we sort of, one of the two decks will be a version of something we came up with on the Brew and Brawl, which is something we do every month. And the next one is October 30th, day before Halloween, in costume.
Yep.
We will be taking requests for this.
Yeah, for costumes?
Costumes.
Yeah. What should we dress up as?
They're not going to be like Hollywood, prosthetics and stuff. There will be our versions of those things, but whatever, man. Hopefully magic related.
We'll do our best. But it's probably not going to look like, classic cosplayer C. Sprinkle, whatever her name is.
Christine Sprankle.
Yeah,
she's
very
a
good
pro.
at
She's a
things.
pro.
We're not.
We are not. You will not think you are watching Avatar.
No, you won't. You probably won't think that anyways, just because it's going to look vastly different from the rest of the mise en scene of Avatar.
Ooh, yes. I don't know how that works, but sure. So great. That's the business.
That's the business. That's what we're doing. That's what's happening. We also stream on twitch.tv, just sort of general, in case you guys want to check us out
man.
there. Sean's been doing a lot of streaming lately.
I'm on point.
And you went, what, 4-0 in a draft?
I went 3-0 on a draft of Kaladesh.
Nice.
Very excited. Won some packs. Gonna loop those over once we're out of pre-release, which I think is today. We're out of pre-release. You could only draft with tickets before in pre-release.
Oh, now you can draft with packs.
Now you can draft with packs. So now, like, it won't cost me much more money. Just the 2-ticket entry. I got a couple of drafts in the bank.
They let you draft on pre-release on MTGO?
Draft leagues.
Oh, so that's a part of the pre-release. Like, it's not just sealed or something.
No, there's a sealed league and a draft league.
Oh, cool.
But it's like a week long.
Neat. Very cool.
Not that it matters because I crushed it all in like 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, check us out there. But for now, let's get to this episode's main stuff. 64. It's Izzet. What are the commanders we chose for the Izzet League?
So the commander I'm brewing around is Jori En, the Ruin Diver, Ruiner of Dives.
Yeah.
Jori En, legendary merfolk wizard, 1 blue-red for a 2/3. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card.
Yes. This seems to be a very fringe ability in that it's not a super powerful, like, we can break this ability like we like in Commander generally. It seems like, this is probably a good 99 card in some decks. But even then, it's like not even that good. Let me tell you something about this card, though. It's pretty good.
It's really
good. And it's really fun. It's fun to have this, like, this card that gives you kind of like an achievement.
Yeah.
It's like it sets up a thing where it's like if you can cast two spells, you'll get that card, right? And so like your whole deck is like working to do that. It makes it really fun to play. I found that out when we did that Brew Brawl. It is a fun commander.
Well, and the thing that I love about it too is it's one of those things that, as you said, it's not super broken.
Yeah.
So no one's going to just see you pull out Jori En and be like, "Oh, we got to kill this guy." They're probably going to leave Jori En alone.
Yeah.
For the most part, and then you're just going to get extra cards a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's a very non-threatening commander, but certainly one that can.
But it helps you get extra threats.
Yeah, it flies under the radar nicely, is what it does, right? It's like that person in Survivor who like makes it to the end, and you're like, man, they were like quietly very good the whole time.
Yeah.
Anyways, I haven't watched Survivor in a few years, but like those people exist still, you know. Okay, and I went with. I think you can't really do an Izzet show without the guild leader himself, the original Niv Mizzet, the Firemind. 2 blue, 2 red for a 4/4 flying dragon wizard. Whenever you draw a card, Niv Mizzet, the Firemind, deals 1 damage to target creature or player, and you can tap them to draw a card.
Great.
Classic.
Great abilities.
Great ability. This guy is the leader of the guild. I actually built a real-life paper deck with this very recently.
IRL.
Just because I had a lot of cards that I kept looking at in like my like binder and stuff like that, where I was just like, man, that would be good in a Niv Mizzet deck. And hey, I've got this foil Japanese Niv Mizzet. It's like, well, maybe I'll use that guy.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not one to trick out decks either, but it's just like when you have a fancy one lying around like that, you're just like, well, come on, I should use this for something.
Might as well.
Yeah. So, he's great. We did build a Niv Mizzet deck very recently with the Nerds, the Jocks versus Nerds Back to School show. Although that was Niv Mizzet Draco Genius.
Yes.
Which is surprisingly a pretty different deck. Like it's pretty different in what it wants and what the kind of support it wants and stuff like that. So
the simple reversal of what it does.
Exactly, yeah. It does create for another, like you can sort of build a similar deck and it will still probably be pretty good, but there's also this avenue to go where it's just completely different. So obviously we went down that avenue and didn't make it so close.
That's why I love Commander.
Yes, exactly.
Everything's so different.
So yeah, we're what are the strategies to these two?
Right. So this Jori En deck, one of the things we're going to leverage on is just the fact that we're going to get to draw an extra second card a lot is just going to be way more fuel. So we're just going to load up the deck with a lot of quote-unquote cantrips that actually turn into double cantrips.
Right.
So we're going to get extra bang for the buck, and then we're basically just going to dig through our deck for some big threats and just close it out with big monsters, big things like that.
Do you have a lot of stuff? I mean, I know you looked at the deck we brewed on the Brew Brawl.
Yes.
Is there a lot of stuff like to take advantage of the fact that it doesn't necessarily have to be your turn that you cast those spells in?
Yep. Yeah. So one of the things, one of the things I wanted to do was to have like single mana instants that let you draw a card that cantrip.
Ah, nice.
Hopefully effects that weren't useless. But the fact that it cantrips for one card is fine, but if it's your second spell in a turn, it cantrips for 2 cards.
Nice.
Which makes it a very playable card, even if it doesn't do a lot. It basically becomes 1 mana, draw 2.
Nice.
Which is great.
Which is great. You're most of the way to an Ancestral Recall there.
Most of the way there.
With that.
Yeah.
Okay, and well, with Niv Mizzet, I mean, it's pretty obvious. I think the strategy is quite, built into my boy Niv. He says right on there, we want to draw cards, and then therefore he can deal damage, and that can be to creatures or players, which is very powerful. And if we can double up that damage or double up that card draw or whatever we can do, obviously that's how we're gonna win. So basically, draw to win, draw to kill.
Yeah, James Bond.
Yeah, a draw to a kill. All right, Sean, what do we got? What are the categories of the cards that we're going to be using here?
Okay, well, category 1, while we're drawing cards anyway, since we're drawing a bunch of cards, why not put in something like Chasm Skulker? Cards that benefit just from you drawing cards. Chasm Skulker is a 2 and a blue for a squid horror. Starts as a 1/1, but whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Chasm Skulker. As I said, right, we're cantripping, double cantripping, things like that. It's very easy for this thing to just become a gigantic.
Oh yeah.
So this can be a killer. And not only that, this guy has built-in board protection, like wrath protection. When Chasm Skulker dies, put X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Walk onto the battlefield, where X is the number of +1/+1 encounters on Chasm Skulker. So once he gets to like a 15, 16, 17 or more, not unreasonable, and Chasm Skulker dies, you have so many Island Walking squids that those squids alone can probably finish someone off, and now they're basically unblockable to, I would wager, half the table.
Yeah, he also makes in that ability, he really makes board wipes not desirable.
No, which I love.
If they board wipe if they're behind, and even if Chasm Skulker is the only guy you have, and they're trying to take care of someone else's board, or if you've got a nice board, it's just they're not gonna do it, because then you're gonna have 15 1/1s and no one's going to have anything else, right?
Yep. Only way to do it is if you got something to back it up, like an Elish Norn or something.
Or, yeah, of course, people can exile the Chasm Skulker, bounce it or whatever, right? But
as long as we don't got a sack outlet,
exactly.
that'll work.
That's one of the reasons why run sack outlets. All right, what's next?
Oh, cool. Psychosis Crawler. I don't mean to step on...
You fully are, by the way. This is like my whole deck is built around these cards, and you're fully stepping on my toes right now.
Why don't we? You want to just skip this category?
No.
Your category.
No, it's okay. I built the rest of my stuff around the fact that you stole all my cards. But you know what? It makes so much sense because we're doing the guild here, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so obviously we're gonna have a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
And drawing cards and dealing damage. That's red and that's blue, right? So,
yeah. So
carry on.
Psychosis Crawler, 5 mana for an artifact creature horror for a star. That star is the power and toughness equal to the number of cards in your hand, right? Drawing a bunch of cards, as we both want to do, makes this thing great. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. So there's a way to just really amp up how much, like a way to do extra damage, right? While we're flying over with big sphinxy, dragony types, we can also just get incremental damage this way.
Yeah.
Useful.
What a great card this is. I love it. One of my favorite commander cards, I think.
Yeah, I don't.
If you want to draw cards
much
in blue, it's like, oh man, you've got not only a way to deal damage as you're drawing the cards, but then you have this massive threat out there.
Yeah,
that's easy to cast. Everything. I love this guy.
And then Niv Mizzet the Firemind.
Right? Yeah, big time stepping on toes.
Yeah, right. But in the notes, I did put a quote. I put "Hi Andy" in the quote.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
So I mean, I won't go into Niv Mizzet. We are hearing all about him. See different art.
Here, look at this cool art.
Ooh, cool art.
All right.
How much is that one? $80.
$80 for the champs version. It's like full art. Anyways, yeah. So, like Sean said, those cards are all good in my deck also. So while that may have been one of my categories, we'll skip that for now, and we'll just take a look at ways to draw, because those are the ways we're going to win. To be honest with you, it's Niv Mizzet and or Psychosis Crawler or something like a Chasm Skulker that's going to benefit from drawing a lot of cards. So how are we going to draw a lot of cards? Well, I did not put Jori En the Rune Diver in here because this deck doesn't really cast a lot of small cantripy type stuff, although that is definitely a way to build Niv Mizzet. Instead, I mean, speaking of that, though, we do have Brainstorm in here. Because when you take Brainstorm and you have Niv Mizzet out, it becomes not only a Brainstorm, it also becomes a Lightning Bolt. which is like, that's pretty good.
Brainstorm plus lightning bolt in 1 card for 1 mana. There we go.
Not bad. Like those are 2 okay things for commander, but when you put 2 okay things on 1 card, that makes that card pretty decent. So Brainstorm, everyone knows Brainstorm. It's 1 blue for an instant that says draw 3 cards. Put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So basically, you're just getting the 1 card. It replaces itself, but you get that card selection. And if you got some shuffling abilities, obviously, then you can shuffle away cards you didn't want.
Great card.
Very good. And there are quite a few shuffling abilities in the deck, so that actually really helps out. So Brainstorm, pretty much an auto-include in a lot of this type of deck. Specifically for Niv Mizzet, though, another kind of like mass draw, like a lot of draw. And how you do that with these colors is the wheel effects, right? That's going to be very, very good. We talked about this in Leovold, who really abuses that ability. But Niv Mizzet just, he abuses it, but not so much as Leovold. Whirlpool Warrior is a great card to use. So it's 2 and a blue for a 2/2. It's a Merfolk Warrior. It says, when Whirlpool Warrior enters the battlefield, shuffle the cards from your hand into your library, then draw that many cards. So it's a wheel, but just for you.
Cool.
So that's cool. And there's a lot of card draw, so we'll almost always have 7 cards in our hand, most likely. When I play this deck, which I did in real life recently, I did mostly have 7 or more cards in my hand. But there's also an ability on Whirlpool Warrior that makes it extra great, which is pay 1 red, sacrifice Whirlpool Warrior. Each player shuffles the cards from his or her hand into his or her library, then draws that many cards. So for 1 red and sacrificing Whirlpool, everyone does it. So you can get 2 uses, 2 wheels out of 1 card for 4 mana.
Wow.
So that's very strong.
Yeah, and if you're up to like 10, wow.
That's 20 damage with Niv Mizzet.
Wow.
If you have 10 cards in your hand, which is
20 damage
not
to
hard
each
to do.
with Psychosis Crawler.
Exactly.
Oof.
Exactly.
Psychosis Crawler is scary.
Ooh, yeah. Don't you know it? Yeah, so Whirlpool Warrior, and obviously stuff like Windfall, which is just a Wheel of Fortune, basically, but in blue. Just everyone discards and everyone draws back up to the greatest number of cards. Red usually gets you back up to 7, whereas blue will change it so that you usually get back up to the highest that everyone discarded or what you personally discarded.
Yes.
So you can get advantage that way, and sometimes you can get advantage off someone else drawing a lot. It's great.
The ones that let you go back to 7 are rarely budget.
Exactly.
Those ones that span.
Because those ones are ways for everyone else to be equal, but you dump your hand out and then refill it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the blue ones are just kind of even it out. So those abilities are very good. And also a card like Recurring Insight is so good. 4 and 2 blue for a sorcery that says draw cards equal to the number of cards in target opponent's hand. God, if it was each, it would be crazy. So draw cards equal to the number of cards in target opponent's hand. And it has a rebound, which means you can cast it for free from exile at the beginning of your next upkeep.
Oh, you can cast it for free next turn.
I wonder. That sounds like it might be useful in another deck.
Useful.
Yeah.
Recurring Insight, though, is incredible. Recurring Insight is one of those. It costs 6 mana and it's a sorcery, so it's always tough to swallow for me. I always wrestle with sorcery draw spells because I want to draw at instant speed at the end of the last person's turn. I hate spending my turn to draw a bunch of cards and then staring at them for a turn, being like, I don't get to use any of these yet. But man, the turn, like you're gonna draw like a dozen or more cards off of this thing. Yeah. You get to retarget a new opponent too next time when it rebounds. So it doesn't even have to be the same opponent. Oh man.
And the great thing about the thing that sort of allows sorcery speed draw to be pretty good in Niv Mizzet is if you have a card like Jace's Archivist or something, which is a creature that's has a tapped ability, pay 1 or blue, and you wheel basically. Right? Yeah. Well, if you do Recurring Insight or Recurring Insight, draw the 6 cards, 5, 6 cards, whatever it is, from your opponent's hand, and then wheel on top of what you had. So you might have 13 cards in your hand by that point, and then you do it. It's the 5 or 6 that you drew plus it's nuts. Niv Mizzet is he loves dealing damage, and he does it so much.
He loves it.
He becomes a very dangerous commander to have out.
Ooh.
Anyways, that's it. That's like some key draw spells for Niv Mizzet.
Cool. Let's go back to the Jori En's the dives being ruined. What are we doing next? Okay, so we want to ensure that we can cast our second spell as often as possible, right? So we need to have ways to make that cheaper. We need to have ways to sneak around things, to cheat things in and out. So one great way to do that, a recent spell that I really am enamored with is Brain in a Jar, which is kind of Psychosis Crawler without the legs. I mean, not functionally, but
without the legs.
Psychosis Crawler is a Brain in a Jar with legs on it.
That's true. Or a Bomar Monk.
I don't know what that is.
If you're familiar with Star Wars.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm thinking the wrong thing. Yeah. Our little tum-tums behind us.
Psychosis Crawler is just like someone watched Return of the Jedi and was like, hey, that thing. I want to make that as a magic card. I wonder what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. But what does Brain in a Jar do? I'll tell you. It's a 2-mana artifact. It has 2 abilities. For 1 generic and tap, you can put a charge counter on Brain in a Jar. Then you can cast an instant or sorcery with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters from your hand without paying its mana cost. So you get to basically cast a spell for 1 mana as long as it's that number, right? So the first time you do it, you can cast a 1 mana spell, like our Brainstorm or like all of our single mana cantrippy kind of things,
right?
Et cetera, et cetera. And the second ability is, because once those counters get big, I want to remove them. I can't do or less than. It has to be equal to. So I can pay 3 and tap, remove X charge counters from Brain in a Jar for scry X. You know, if we got mana sitting around in a commander game, I'm going to do that. That's great.
It's also a nice way to manipulate the number of counters on here. Like, let's say you went up to 6 to do something big, and now you're like, oh, man, I need 5 on this because I want to do this, and then I want to do this for 1 mana. It's
sure.
Like, ooh, the turn before, I can just scry 1.
Absolutely.
Get back down there.
Yeah, it's great. You're going to want... I would be more tempted to scry down to like 1 or 2 so that I could just cycle it back up again rather than just have it sit at 5 and then 6 again.
Oh, yeah. I just mean like as an example.
Plan,
for some reason, there's some reason you need to do that.
Yeah, if you're looking ahead, I often find myself just holding it at like 3, being like, I want to cast this 4, so I'm just going to hold it and just wait till you get the right opportunity. Nice. That's a great card. So you cast it from your hand without paying its mana cost. So for 1 mana, you've cast 1 spell. Great. Very easy to get 2 spells if 1 costs 1. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about Surreal Memoir. Surreal Memoir. 3 and a red for a sorcery. Return an instant card at random from your graveyard to your hand, and it has rebound. So we're spending 4 mana, we're getting a card back from the graveyard. It's an instant. A lot of our instants are pretty cheap. Some of them are not, but there's a very good chance we'll get one that costs 1 or 2, so we'll be able to recast that one. And they're all cantrippy, drawy type of ones, which will so if this is our first spell, let's say Brainstorm comes back. Brainstorm's our second spell, so we draw 1, then we draw 3, then we put 2 back on our library, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes, and it's great. And it has rebound. And the reason I made a big deal about rebound earlier is because, as you said, during your next upkeep, you can cast it again for free. That's a free first spell a turn.
That's right.
That's how we're going to get 2 spells every turn. We're going to take advantage of stuff like that. It's great. And then I want to talk about Galvanoth.
Ooh.
3 red for a 3/3 beast. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top card of your library. If it's an instant or sorcery card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. That's a very useful phrase for Jori En. We want to find a lot of things that say you may cast without paying its mana cost, because that right there, there's that free 1, and then we can afford to spend 6 on something like an archetype of imagination, so that we can get our creatures in to do the killing blow. But this kind of thing gives us our first spell for free. Cast me that second one, no problem.
Nice.
And with all of our scry, it's not that hard to end up with an instant or sorcery on the top of the library.
Set that up.
Yeah.
Galvanoth kind of looks more like a crab than anything else.
He does. Or like
a weird, like a giant tick.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a tick or like a bed bug or something.
Yeah, I don't like him.
I like what he does.
I like what he does.
I wouldn't want to meet Galvanoth, but I like the work that he does.
I mean, I guess you tell me. He's a beast? I don't know, man. That looks like a carapace to me. I ain't never met a beast with no carapace. Anyways, it's more of a giant bug thing. He looks like something out of Starship Troopers.
Do you think they changed him to red last minute? You think he was something else, and they're like, "Oh, we need to make him a beast." Why would that matter? Have they ever been like, he can't be an elemental because that's too weird? Like,
I don't know. You know what? I think what sometimes happens is they have like art that they haven't used, and they're like, "Can we use this for this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense."
Oh, I see. This was
that
something
definitely
else.
does happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if that definitely happened here, but like, that's definitely some kind of giant bug. That ain't no beast.
But he is doing a very spell-like thing.
He looks like it. Yeah, that's true.
Unless the markings on his back were kind of photoshopped in, because it doesn't look like it took away detailing. like those weird blueness. The blueness looks a little bit added, like it was a sticker.
Yeah, it does. It looked like it was like drawn on, like animated on.
Yeah, maybe
kind
he
of.
was a pure beast, and they're like, oh, let's add some stuff to make it spells.
Maybe we need to add. Yeah, but like, what's beast about him?
Let's find Kev Walker's social media and ask him what's up with.
We should
Galvanov.
ask Kev Walker. That's a good move. Let's do that.
I bet you he's on Twitter.
I bet you he is. Okay. So drawing. Okay, we did that. Now, because we got a lot of these wheel effects, everyone's going to be discarding a lot of cards.
Yeah.
And one of Blue's, strengths is actually being able to pull stuff out of the graveyard. So why not include a couple of things that we can, use our opponent's graveyard or our own graveyard? Now, I'm not talking about creature recursion, but I'm talking about the Izzet style of bringing spells back. So one that came to mind right away, of course, is Izzet Chronarch. It's 3, a blue, and a red for a 2/2 human wizard. It says when Izzet Chronarch enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. These types of effects are so key, right? So Izzet Chronarch, Mnemonic Wall, Archaeomancer. Those are 3 creatures that are 100% in this deck, obviously, because we're going to be discarding our own hand a lot too, or just playing our instants and sorcery. So you want to get as much out of those as possible. So Izzet Chronarch is a very Izzet card. So obviously we're going to use them.
Here's another crossover. Like this guy is in Jori En for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Because if you have a 1-mana spell, you cast him, get back your 1-mana spell, cast it, and now you draw an extra card.
There you go. You got your extra draw.
Yeah.
Izzet Chronarch's great and his ilk, but also spells that do a similar thing. So Spell Twine. Spell Twine, I think we talk about this card a lot, but it's a very
so
Izzet
good.
card, and it's so good.
It's so good.
It's 5 and a blue for a sorcery, and it says exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard and target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. Copy those cards, cast the copies available without paying their mana costs. Exile Spell Twine. So the only bummer about this is that we have to exile it after. That
Yeah, you
sucks.
can't recur it.
I can't bring it back with my Izzet Chronarch. But
I'm trying
rest
to think
assured, once of doing this is like very, very good.
Because you're telling me you're going to get way more than 6 mana worth of spells
Absolutely,
by
you
doing
are.
this.
Definitely.
You're going to do a recurring insight for yourself. That's 6 right there.
Mhm.
And then anything else out of an opponent's deck is graveyard.
Now you can't
Gravy.
cast things with like overload, right? You can't cast that type of stuff, but you can pay. You can do alternate stuff. So like you can do, for example, kicker, right?
You can do additional costs.
Right.
But you can't do alternate costs.
Right. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like you can cast a kicked Rite of Replication. Am I right?
You can kick it. Yeah, you got to pay extra for the kick, but like the kick is only what, 5?
It's 5, right? So you can do this and pay 5, and then and have it be the kicked version.
Which is 11 total, which is only a couple more than a regularly kicked Rite of Replication. So you're gonna get that plus
But then
your
plus
spell.
whatever else, right?
Ooh, good
or
deal.
the more average case scenario where you're going to get one of your big draw spells, like a recurring insight. Well, you're not going to get recurring insight because that exiles after, but you might get. Actually, no, it doesn't. Sorry,
Recurring
it
insight-
exiles in between. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you might get something like that, or one of your other draw spells, and then if you're behind, you can get a board wipe usually from someone's graveyard, or any other neat spell you want. Right.
The only drawback I can see to this, I cannot figure out why this is still a gumball. Like the only thing is that you have to have 2 targets.
Yes.
There has to be 1 target in your graveyard, 1 target in an opponent's graveyard.
Right.
So in a weird world, I guess if all the graveyards have been dumped or something like that, but I mean in that case,
possible.
no graveyard spells are good. So who cares? I don't know, man. This card is perfect. I want to marry it.
Yeah, you love the spell.
I
You
love
play this a
this
lot.
spell.
I've seen you play this. Of
course you have.
It usually works out for you.
Yeah. there's always something so good that you want.
But I notice in our meta, like, there's a lot of times where you'll be like, "What's in everyone's graveyards?" And it's like no creatures. And it's like, oh man. But like with this version, right, of graveyard recursion, spell twine, and things like that.
Yeah.
You don't need creatures. You just need someone's early spells or like a ramp card or anything, right? You can get your money's worth out of it.
Man, early in the game when we're still kind of building our forces, like if I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm going to crack it. I'm going to get back my sick draw spell, and I'm going to take your wicked ramp spell and just bump myself up.
And that's a pretty like floor scenario for this card.
That's
right?
floor.
I mean, floor really is not being able to play it at all because there's not 2 instants or sorceries in people's graveyards, which is very unlikely
Yeah.
by the time you're wanting to actually cast this spell.
I think the true floor is you got called into work and you don't get to play Commander.
The true floor is that you've never learned to play Magic at all, and you're not even listening to this podcast, or you're not even really aware of the game.
Yeah.
That's the
That's the floor of
That's
this
the
card.
floor on Spell Twine. So, I mean, worst case scenario, you don't know what Magic is. You found this on the street somewhere.
Yeah, that's a worst case.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty good case.
That's a decent case.
You're
even.
finding a spell twine on the ground? That's
Yeah,
great. That's a pretty
that's
good
okay.
case.
Yeah. So Spell Twine usually will get you something really great, and then probably something just okay, or like half the time it'll get you 2 awesome things. It's really, really good.
Oh, man.
I love it.
RG.
Spell Twine's very, very good in this deck, and very similar to Spell Twine is Diluvian Primordial. 5 blue. It's like we're taking steps up here. We get one to our hand. We get free stuff. Well, now we get a bunch of free stuff. Diluvian Primordial is 5 blue for a 5/5 flying Avatar. I mean, this guy makes it look like Avatar, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
You might confuse this with Avatar currently.
Yeah, he is an avatar. Yo, are you one of them avatars?
Yeah, yo, man, you in that movie Avatars? When Diluvian Primordial enters the battlefield, for each opponent, you may cast up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If a card cast this way would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So not only is it a 5/5 flyer, which is cool.
Yeah.
For 7 mana, it's like it's a lot to pay, but like leaving a 5/5 flyer out is great. But you get 1 like instant or sorcery from everyone's graveyard, and like let's be honest, you're probably always not gonna get 1 from everyone. So if you're playing a 5-player game, you're probably more likely to get 3 than 4, I think.
Yes, which is common. Like I've resolved this a few times, and I've never gotten that like magical, like the ultimate to me is 1 ramp, 1 wrath, and 1 empty the graveyards on your side, like one of those kind of things. Like
exactly.
That's the ideal situation, but like that ain't never happened.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to do that.
But it's always but again, right? If Spell Twine, you're always going to get more than 6. Like what's a 5/5 flyer worth? 4 mana? 5 mana, right? 5 mana. I say 5 mana
decent.
for a 5/5 flyer is decent, right?
Yeah.
But if I could pay 4 for it, I would be like, heck yeah, that's an incredible deal.
Yeah.
So let's assume it's 4. So for 3 extra mana, you're getting potentially 3 spells for free.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Get out.
Get out. Get out.
Leave my house.
Turn off the podcast.
You don't know how to play this. You found a Spell Twine on the ground and you brought it over to my house and you asked me what this was. Get out.
What a weird. If that person came to play, we'd have to let them.
Of course. We'd be like, well, here's the deck that goes into. Why don't you play that? Oh, what about the rules?
Trigger on the stack.
We're going to teach you how to play Commander right now. But Diluvian Primordial is obviously great in a lot of like mill decks, but it's very good in this deck too because, like I said, with those wheel effects, we're making everyone discard their hands and stuff. So
human waterfall.
And when you're making people discard their hands, like sometimes like they've had a chance to do card selection and card draw and all this, so they might be hanging on to that big like 7 mana cool sorcery spell that does something really crazy.
Yeah.
So maybe you're even a little more likely to get something nuts in this deck than you are just randomly piling cards from their library. Who knows? I don't know. That might not be true at all. But anyways,
I have found
like if
that
someone's tutored, you know what I mean? Anyways,
I have found that Diluvian Primordial needs a little bit of assistance to be great.
Yes,
like,
for sure.
I've run it in decks that want to, just in general, that don't actively mill anybody, and sometimes it whiffs like pretty sadly. Like,
yeah,
it's like, what do I got? I got the choice of a ramp and another ramp. Okay, I mean that's not bad.
And then sometimes because if you cast a board wipe with this guy, like your guy's getting killed. You're not getting the creature then, right?
When it enters the battlefield, you don't get to. You don't get to save it.
So that's the it's great when you are behind and you need a board wipe and there's one in a graveyard. This guy acts as a board wipe, which almost alone is pretty decent.
You know what? I think that's the mentality. If you're not actively supporting Diluvian Primordial, you need to assume it's a blue board wipe. Just hold on to it as if it were that.
Yeah, but like you can't. Even then, you still need the support. You can't just assume someone's board wiped already, right? Like in most games. I don't know. I think it's tough to count on that. You can't count on this guy as a board wipe. Although if your deck is lacking them, it's something to think about.
Yeah, he'll never be the first board wipe.
Of course. Yeah, and a lot of times that you need that first one.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyways, definitely something to think about, and is definitely a good card. Love the Primordials.
Interesting card. Love them. Okay, so great. So now I hinted at it earlier. I'm going to highlight some cards that let you cast without paying its mana cost, right? These are ways to just get free spells, which again is how we want to get those 2 spells every turn. We want to hit that as often as possible so that we keep our hand full, because the worst thing to do is to only have 1 spell in your hand, because then you can't cast 2 spells, and the engine dies. So let's talk about Keru Spell Snatcher. This is a 3 and a blue for a Naga wizard, but we'll never pay 3 and a blue. We'll pay 3 colorless and morph it as a face-down 2/2 creature. And to turn it face up, we pay 4 blue. That's 6 mana. That's a ton of mana. But when we do that, counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost for as long as it remains exiled. So I did some research on how the rules work on this thing. So you flip Keru Spell Snatcher up, you counter a card, it goes into exile, and then that card, it's as if that card is stamped with the ability you may cast this from exile without paying its mana cost.
Right.
Keru Spell Snatcher doesn't even, it's done its work. It can die. It doesn't need to be around for that to be a thing. You've always got access to that. That's a free second spell for when you need it. If you need it now, cast it now. But if you want to do it later, like if you cancel a Wrath on someone else's turn, you're like, well, maybe if I need one later, I've got one if I need one.
Nice.
It's great.
Does this allow you to cast it right away?
No, you do have to, because you do have to obey timing restrictions. So, like, you can't do sorceries when there's stuff on the stack, for example.
Right.
But like you don't have wait. If it's an instant, no restrictions.
So there are some cards though that let you like counter a spell and then you play it, you get it, right? Like you can cast that spell.
Yes, you must.
And
those ones
like they give you the permission to cast to break the timing rules like on the card by the way it's worded.
Yes, and those ones you have to do it right then, I believe.
Yeah. So the 4 anyway. So we won't get too deep on the rules on this, but like there is a difference between this and like Spelljack and some other ones, right?
Right, because Spelljack wants you to cast it now.
Yeah, exactly. As you're countering it, right?
Yeah. This one gives you the choice of when, which is great.
Yeah, it is great.
Well, there'd be no point in countering a Wrath if you had to cast it right then. The whole reason I countered it is because I don't want it to happen now.
This is great because you can counter a counter and save the counter for later. I mean, I don't know why you would do that, but because it itself is a counter. Oh yeah, of course. If it's countering your stuff.
Yeah, if they counter my stuff, I do this, and they're like, "Go ahead." Like, there's something.
And then you've got another counter ready to go.
Just sitting there
use it.
at any time. You're like,
actually.
everyone just remember I got this counter here, so like you got to team up on me if you want to do that. In theory, you could Keru Spell Snatch your own counter spell just to have that in the chamber, just to like scare people.
That's true. Yeah, just to make it free. I mean, you pay for it way ahead of time, I guess.
You pay a lot ahead of time.
Yeah, maybe that's not a great move.
I mean, it's just a psychological move, which I love. Speaking of psychological moves into cards, not yet though. Mind's Dilation. This is new. This is an Eldritch Moon Mythic. This is 5 blue for an enchantment. 7 mana total, but it's a lot. It's worth it. Whenever an opponent casts his or her first spell each turn, that player exiles the top card of his or her library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. We're holding a Brainstorm. We're holding 1 blue mana up. We're waiting for all our opponents to do stuff. If one of them hits a non-land spell, we cast it for free. We sneak in our Brainstorm for that extra card draw on top of that.
Decent.
Right?
That's smart.
Instant 1 mana draw is key for this deck for reasons like this. So we can get those extra cards on other people's turns, not just our own turn.
Not to mention the free thing you get from Mind's Dilation.
You know what? I am glossing that over. Like, I'm so excited about the engine that, like, let's just not forget you're just getting a whole bunch of free awesome stuff.
The great thing about Mind's Dilation is, like, if they cast a spell and then you flip their top card because they cast that spell and it's a counter spell, you can use that counter to counter the spell they cast.
If you want, which I for sure would.
It's so funny.
Have you resolved one of these
I
yet?
have, yes, I did. Against Alistair and
it?
Butler. It's great. It's amazing. You get free stuff. What did I get? I was like in the lead and like they had a chance. It was a 3-player game. They had a chance at like breaking up what I had going on.
But they didn't.
Well, I'll tell you why they didn't is because Butler cast the first spell to start the breaking up of stuff.
Yeah.
And Mind's Dilation flipped his library and gave me what's the oh man, she's a counter Glenalindra Archmage. So it's like, oops. Oopsies.
Oopsies.
Yeah.
Do you have any more non-land spells? Because you need 3.
Yeah, and then he was like, oh. Oh, that's what you got?
I
Okay, well, I can't do anything
I
now.
can exactly hear Butler saying that.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, Mind's Dilation is the real deal. I see this card a lot now. I mean, if you go on EDH Rec, this is like, look at any blue commander. This is always in the new cards, and
Sure.
it's in like every blue deck. And
Why wouldn't it be?
why wouldn't it be? But look, if you're listening to this right now and you don't own a Mind's Dilation, they're about $1, maybe a bit less even. Yo, this is a mythic. This is a thing that's going to go in just about every blue EDH deck, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this card is going to spike and be $10 or something like that, but it's going to slowly crawl up. It's going to be one of those cards that, like, in a year, we're going to look back and we're going to be like, geez, this card's $5? Like,
Yeah.
when did this happen?
Yeah.
Get your Mind's Dilations. I did. I got them. I got 4 of them. And guess what? They're great.
I should get a few. Okay, can I take this moment to plug an article on MTG Canada?
Please
which
do.
we write for. Andy and I write articles for MTG Canada, co-sister website of With the Wizard's Tower. And the most recent one, which is going to drop any second now, is on... So we just rotated Magic Origins and Dragons of Tarkir. So I just gave you a little breakdown of some awesome cards for EDH that are in there that are dirt cheap right now that either were expensive or I expect could be expensive in the future. And, like, there's some deals right now. Like, just thinking about it, like, you know, you could read the article. I won't go into it now, but, like, there's a lot of stuff to pick up right now. So while you're making that order at Wizard Tower, Tower of Brews, 5% off, throw in a couple Mind's Dilations.
Yeah, definitely throw them in. It's well worth it. What's next? What's next for casting without paying for it?
Oh, right. Master of Predicaments. Ooh, I love mind games. This is the mind games. So 3 blue for a Sphinx. It's a flying 4/4. Whenever Master of Predicaments deals combat damage to a player, choose a card in your hand. That player guesses whether the card's converted mana cost is greater than 4. If the player guessed wrong, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Okay. I hit you with the Sphinx. I pick a card. Greater than 4 or less than 4. If you get it wrong, I get to cast this for free. What are you picking?
So I have to choose.
You have to choose. Is this a big spell or a small spell?
So I'll choose big spell every time, just so you don't get anything.
You
crazy.
choose big spell every time, so therefore I know I can always get a
choose
small spell for
spell.
free.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, you got to throw the curveball. Once in a while, you got to be like, small spell, right?
From my hand, though, right?
From my hand.
Oh, from your hand.
I hit you with the Sphinx.
Oh.
I pick a card from my hand.
Right.
And then you have to guess, what did I pick?
Right.
Did I pick big or small?
Yep.
You know I got tons of small. I also got tons of big. But, like, here's the weird thing about this card is that, like, yeah, you're right. You have to pick big every time because you can't let me get a free recurring insight.
Exactly. You can't let you get a free whatever, psychosis crawler.
Right.
Not that that's big, but it's more than 4, right?
Yeah, it counts on the big half,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, like, you have to pick small, but once you know that, you always get free small ones.
Well, listen, in our Brew and Brawl, the match that we played against the Strangers on MTGO, I resolved a Master of Predicaments and had a guy guess small, and I got to cast big.
Ooh.
It was great. I can't remember what I picked with it. I think I picked Niv Mizzet. Niv Mizzet was the spell I picked with Master of Predicaments. And I think it's because every card in my hand was over 4, so I didn't even really have a choice.
Choose a small.
So I chose Niv Mizzet because it was like the best for that time, and he chose small, and I was like, bam, free Niv Mizzet. It was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he trying to outthink you, like the I know you know, so I'm gonna do the reverse?
Well, I think exactly what you're saying here is what happened, right? So he saw Jori En. He knows lots of cantrips, lots of small things that he wants. I want to get 2 a turn or whatever. So, and I think he saw that and was just like, oh, well, you probably have small. And people know that they always pick big. So I think he tried to outthink me.
But then once you know that he knows, then you're
Then
going to
you
pick
know that
big.
he knows.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
these
yeah.
cards. I love
Yeah.
cards that do this to your brain. It's so Izzet.
Yeah, it's very Izzet. That is very Izzet. Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, Master of Predicaments. That's a super Izzet-y card.
Oh, man.
Okay, so since Sean stole my last category and named all my win conditions as his first category, I just needed to name a couple more ways to draw and what I thought are pretty Izzet-like spells, right?
Cool.
Biggest, craziest draw spell in Magic is must include in this Niv Mizzet deck, for sure. And in fact, is how I won one of my games against Alistair and Butler when I played this deck. Enter the Infinite. 8 blue. That's 12 mana for a sorcery.
That's very expensive.
It's a Mythic from Gate Crash. I remember opening this card and being like, barely knowing really what Magic was, like not knowing what to expect from this new set that I had never played, and opening this card and being like, what? Like, is this good?
Yeah.
Should I take it? I didn't. However, it wheeled. So unsurprisingly,
in limited, why would it? Like,
it's a straight F in limited. In most decks, it's a straight F. But it wheeled, and I was like, you know what? I'll just, you know what? It's a Mythic. I'll take it. Why not? We'll see. Maybe I'll use it one day. The day has come. Enter the Infinite.
Save
12
yourself
mana.
$1.50.
Exactly. A sorcery that says draw cards equal to the number of cards in your library. Then put a card from your hand on top of your library. You have no maximum hand size until your next turn.
Do you know what this is? This is the Magic card equivalent of my favorite joke.
Okay.
Maybe joke is the wrong word. It's my favorite bit that I do when I'm with my family at birthday parties or anything. And
this is
it goes as
I'm
follows.
Excited. Okay.
If you volunteer to slice a cake, say I'll slice it.
I'll slice the cake.
Yeah, sure. So then I'll say, oh, do you want to? Oh, just okay. Here, I'll just slice a piece.
Okay.
So you slice a very small piece,
Mm-hmm.
pull it away from the cake, and then take the rest of the cake, leaving a tiny sliver left over.
So wait. So your joke is that you do that at
I
family
do that,
gatherings?
and I'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna cut. I'm just gonna cut like this. This is all I want. This is all I want.
And then you
I
take the whole thing?
The whole thing. This is the equivalent of that joke. You leave one card,
Yeah.
but you take the rest of the cake.
I take the whole thing. It's
But
a
one.
12-mana draw.
one.
Draw 60 cards. But with Niv Mizzet, like, okay, so usually this is paired up with Laboratory Maniac, right?
Sure.
Draw your whole draw your whole deck, and
Play
then
Lab
play
Maniac.
Lab Maniac, and then
Draw two.
draw two, and you win.
Yeah.
Right, whatever.
Boring.
Boring, very boring win. In my paper deck, I do have Laboratory Maniac in there, but in this deck I don't because it's kind of expensive. Anyways, but you don't need that card with Niv Mizzet. With Niv Mizzet out and Enter the Infinite, that's just pretty much a win. You play Enter the Infinite, you draw I think when I did it, I drew 58 cards, and that's it. That's 58 damage spread around as I see fit.
Yeah.
So you obviously can't cast this. Well, you can't cast it because it costs 12 mana right away. But like as the game goes on and you can protect Niv Mizzet and make sure that he's not going to get instantly removed, in response to this or something like that. Enter the Infinite can be a big win con for you. And then even if it's like it's not, you do get that next turn where you have every card in your deck in your hand, and you might be able to pull out a win somehow with that. You get one turn basically to make it work.
Okay, this made me think of a card that I don't think they've ever invented.
Here's the other thing. Oh, very quickly though.
Yeah.
Before you jump into that, I also had Elixir of Immortality out, which can give you an extra few turns of Enter the Infinite. Now, you won't have all the cards in your hand that way, but you still can draw cards afterwards.
Okay, can we take a quick detour to talk about a Kaladesh card?
Okay.
An uncommon. I forget what it's called. It's a 2-mana artifact that always goes last pick in draft. It says tap, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, or 2, sacrifices, no taps. So you can do both in a turn. Shuffle as many target cards from your graveyard as you want back into your library. So it's sort of like Elixir of Immortality,
but it's only specific ones.
but you only get your gas. Like you can say, screw you lands. I'm only putting my spells back in my deck.
Right.
So
that's cool.
I think, and so in Limited, nobody takes this card, but I was just like, on a whim, I was just like, I've seen Kaladesh games go very long because of board stalls. I'm just going to, every turn, mill myself for 2 no matter what, knowing that as long as I have 2 up, I can put whatever left. And once you get down to almost no cards, you're like, great. Now my whole deck is good stuff.
Do you shuffle that in? It's a shuffle effect, right?
You don't shuffle the artifact in. The artifacts...
No, sorry. The ones you're putting from your graveyard, you shuffle them back in.
So if you've left a land, or so if someone's about to destroy it and you want to do that, but I think I might like that a bit better than Elixir of Immortality. I don't know.
Interesting. Elixir gives you that 5 life, which can sometimes be relevant, but who knows? So Enter the Infinite is an awesome card, and with Niv Mizzet, it's real. I'll tell you what. I'll post a picture of it because I had to take a picture of it. But my opening hand one game was Lab Maniac, Enter the Infinite, Burnished Heart, and then 4 lands.
Wow.
And then I only drew lands for the first like 3 or 4 turns, so I was like, wow, I'm going to do this. And then I did. It was great.
Just wait and then enter the infinite. Wow.
Yep, it
wow.
was awesome. Next one, more drawing, more Izzet. Overwhelming Intellect. 4 blue for an instant. It's a counter spell. Counter target spell. Draw cards equal to that spell's converted mana cost.
Flavor text. My brain hurts.
Again, featured in our Nerds deck because it's Overwhelming Intellect of Nerds. But it's I had to mention it again because it's quickly becoming one of my favorite counter spells. It feels weird to have to love a 6-mana counterspell this much.
There's a couple like if I'm gonna pay more than 2 for a counterspell, it better be awesome. And this one pays you back.
Yeah, it does. And the thing is like the floor on this, besides finding it on the street and not knowing what it is, is that you counter a spell that's like cost 2 or 3 that's like not that great, right? You just have to because whatever that 2-mana spell somehow is going to win them the game or something, which is probably pretty unlikely. But that's the floor. That's an unlikely floor in my books.
Yeah.
Usually you're going to cast this and counter a board wipe, or you're going to counter some huge spell that someone's casting, and you're going to get to draw 6, 7, 8, 9 cards off of it.
Even 4,
maybe not 9. I don't know. People
like
really
opportunity is 4 blue, draw 4 cards, instant speed.
Correct.
So this is
that's in the ballpark.
This is better than that.
I think so.
Because I guess you make an enemy for countering a spell. But like you're probably going to get 4 or more cards off of this if you want. And if you run this and opportunity, just be able. I am in the habit of keeping up a bunch of mana, doing most of the things at the end of my opponent's turn. So sure.
Yeah.
Oh, something good happened. Cool. I'll just draw 8 from that.
It's a fun spell. It really is.
Yeah.
You feel really great when you can get a 6 mana or more spell with it.
1 gumball.
1 gumball.
This is a cheap deck.
Yeah, it is. Overwhelming Intellect is a great one, but also Thought Reflection will even double that up. So Thought Reflection is an enchantment that's 4 blue, and it says if you would draw a card, you draw 2 cards instead. This card you do have to kind of be careful if your deck's really rolling, then you might deck yourself. Because it replaces every draw with 2 instead.
You can't play Enter the Infinite with this.
No, you can't. Well, wait. No, of course you can't. You draw like
it's
like
asking
100
you to
cards.
draw double.
Yeah, it tells you right away you can't do it. So yeah, obviously you can't. But it's so good with Niv Mizzet. That's double damage. So good with Psychosis Crawler.
Sure.
Any draw spell. With Brainstorm, you draw 6 and put 2 back, right? Like it turns every one of your spells into doubly good spells. So Thought Reflection is a must-have. And a lot of these cards were printed in the Mythic's precon, right? Niv Mizzet himself was printed in there.
Yes.
So you'll find your Thought Reflections in there. You'll find, I believe, there's an Overwhelming Intellect in there as well. So
I believe so. If you bought that deck, you have that cool counterspell, that 5-minute counterspell that lets you pick 3 modes.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mythic's is obviously a card that is pretty good in both of our decks.
Yeah.
Of course. I didn't include him in her in mine.
I didn't include her in mine either.
There's something about putting those commanders in the 99 that like just doesn't feel like it's like it probably is worth it, but it just doesn't feel. It feels weird.
Well, it's because they'd only get rolling after a while. So like when you first drop Mythics, nothing happens. Cast a couple sorcerers, like okay, cool. Now I'm getting them at 2 cheaper. It's like oh, someone wiped the board. Okay, so I saved 2 mana on 2 spells. It's like that doesn't sound awesome.
Yeah,
because the deck, the Jori En deck is not built to recur creatures, so like you're very unlikely to get a spell back from your graveyard that way.
Yeah.
So I mean, Mythics wouldn't do a lot. Like, and a lot of my cantrips are already like 1 or 2 mana anyway. So like, I'm probably not going to save a ton on it.
Yeah, and like when you have Mythics as your commander, you can plan out your hand. You can say, okay, I've my curve is this.
Yeah.
I'll cast Mythics here. That way I can instant speed do this and this and this and get some experience counters. Where it's like if you drop Mizzet really late game when it's 99, it's like well what I might not even have
kind of a dead card.
Yeah, it's like it's not even that good.
I guess it.
Like is Goblin Electromancer better than Mythics in these types of decks? Probably, right? That's a guaranteed 1 less every time.
Every time it only costs 2 mana to cast.
For instants and sorceries, for sure.
Instants and sorceries, and that's what Mythics cares about.
Exactly.
So. Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe that enchantment that makes them scry. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, makes them cost 1 less.
Yeah,
Maybe
Jace's Sanctum.
Yeah.
And
Maybe that's
then Arcane Melee makes all instances of sorceries 2 less.
For everybody.
Which
I
is
always forget that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, always.
I think it's worth it. I run those kind of cards in a deck.
Oh,
where
I think it's
wanna
worth
do
it
that.
for sure.
Yeah.
I just as an opponent to those decks, I always forget that now my
that
stuff.
you get the bonus.
Yeah, exactly. Also.
Yeah.
Anyways, thought reflection, worth having for sure. And like, despite not really being enchantment colors, it's a killer enchantment.
Killer enchantment.
Killer enchantment.
Ki.
Ki. Ki.
Ke.
Ke.
I'm thinking Killer Instinct, the video game.
Killer instinct. Yeah. It's Orchid.
Oh right.
She's from that game, right?
Deep cut, man. I have not thought about that in a long time.
But
But enough about weird fighting games.
yes, enough.
Let's go to the 3 stars of the deck. The cards that function the strongest, or the cards that are normally good but are great in this particular build. For Jori En, number 3, Una's Grace. 2, blue, instant. Target player draws a card. Here's what makes it a star of the deck. It has Retrace. You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other costs. It's an instant, so we can tack this onto other people's turns if they let us cast a spell for free somehow. Once it's in our graveyard, every land becomes a second spell if we need it to be.
Yeah.
So this is a way to just keep that gas rolling. This card is a star in the deck for sure.
Turn every land into an Una's Grace once it's in your graveyard. That's pretty powerful.
And if it becomes draw 2 cards, right? If it's just, that's what we're going to have it as our second spell.
True.
So it's always going to read draw 2 cards for us. So good. Let's talk about Future Sight. 2, blue, blue, blue. It's an enchantment. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library. This is just like an extended hand. If you've got a land on the top of your library, that's wicked. That's basically ramp, which is hard to do in blue and red.
Mm-hmm.
And it lets you cast spells off the top of your library. We have a lot of instants. It's another way we have access to second spells of every turn. If this is out, it's very hard not to get 2 spells a turn.
Yeah.
You're always going to get 2 spells. You're just going to get gas. It's amazing.
I've heard Future Sight be like, oh, whatever, big deal. It's just extending your hand by 1.
No.
Not
true.
Because if you cast that one that is extended, you get another one.
Right.
And then if you cast that one, you get another one.
Sure.
And if it's a land, you get to play that, and you get another one. Like it's
great.
It turns all of those cards into cantrips.
It's possible to have like a turn where you cast 2 spells and play a land and did not use a single card from your hand.
Oof. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Not bad.
Then the number 1 star of the deck. Ooh.
I could use this card.
Yeah.
This is good.
Cast Through Time.
Yeah.
4, blue, blue, blue. Enchantment. Instant and sorcery spells you control have Rebound.
It's a 7-mana do nothing enchantment.
The first time,
that does everything.
Right.
Everything you could ever want.
Yeah, you get every spell twice. So, and again, this just fuels Jori En's extra draws. This ensures that we have 1 free spell off the top. So basically,
it's really only 1.
Basically, cast a spell, get an extra card. Like put a cantrip on every card. It's great.
Turns your instants and sorceries into cantrips. Basically, the next one turn away from that.
So you can see how Jori En has the ability to just get so much out of the deck. Right? We're going to get to our big fatty flyers in no time. We don't need that many solid threats because we're going to see so much of our deck so easily.
I mean, that's the same thing for Niv Mizzet.
There you
go. Speaking of which, let's talk about those 3 stars. So, when it comes to Niv Mizzet, we want to get those wheel effects. So the number 3 is probably the best one. Jace's Archivist, 1 and 2 blue for a 2/2 Vidalcan Wizard. He has pay 1 blue, tap. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. The reason this is one of the best is just because it's repeatable, right? It has the downside of having to wait a turn, of course, when we play it. But once that summoning sickness is gone, this guy just does this once a turn. And if we have a few ways to untap things, which we do, because Niv Mizzet also taps, right? Niv Mizzet taps to draw a card.
Yeah.
So there's 1 or 2 little things in there that'll untap guys. So Jace's Archivist can become a real mess for your opponents. They also can't plan their turns anymore. That's one effect that wheel cards
People
have.
are afraid of wheel effects.
Which they shouldn't be, because they're just whatever.
No, but I had the dragon on the board once. The
I got that.
wizard dragon that makes people wheel, and people were like, I can't let him wheel. I need to do what's in my hand.
That's
So
true, yeah.
I need to kill it now.
When you've got a nice spell, like a nice curve or like a nice plan that you're about to do next turn, you don't want to wheel. Jace's Archivist can mess all that up.
I noticed that this Vidalcan has 5 fingers.
Do Vidalcans not have 5 fingers?
They have 6.
Really?
According to Kaladesh lore.
Ooh.
That's why they're so good with devices and trinkets
Really?
and engineering. Yeah, they got 6 fingers. So maybe this guy got in trouble with the wrong people and they cut off a finger to teach him a lesson.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you're right. That's got to be maybe that's like a Kaladesh Vidalcan thing.
Also, they probably only just invented that thing. They probably only just thought about Vidalcans and be like, so besides blue, what are these guys all about?
Well, they were in like Ravnica.
I think they've been around.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time, Vidalcans.
But I don't think they were like a major player.
I like when like fantasy things create new like races and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a Vidalcan or like what's the other
Aetherborn.
The Aetherborn are so cool.
They're cool dudes.
Oh, I love it. Like everyone does what Tolkien did, which is create those races as we know them, basically.
Dwarves, elves.
You know, the humans are this.
I mean, I get it. That's a good link.
That's great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
You want to teach
that's
a
classic.
if a guy finds a spell twine and you want to teach him magic, don't dive into Aetherborns and Vidalcans.
Yeah, exactly.
Show him dwarves and elves.
Show them dwarves and elves first. Explain that, right? Hobbits and so on. People understand that. Orcs, right? But yeah, I love that they're embracing and make up new stuff. Like even like their versions of gremlins are very cool.
Yeah.
Little,
with
these
the
little like yeah. Anyways, Vidalcans are cool. Jace's Archive is very good. Number 3, number 2 star. It's a tie between Arjun, the Shifting Flame, and its ability on an enchantment, which is Mind Moil, and I'll read that. So Arjun says he's a 5/5 flying sphinx, so he's pretty good. But what he says is whenever you cast a spell, put the cards in your hand on the bottom of your library in any order, then draw that many cards. So every time you cast any spell, you put all the 5, 6, 7 cards you have in your hand on the bottom of your library and then draw that many. So Niv Mizzet is going to deal 7 damage, 6 damage, 5 damage, whatever. Arjun and Mind Moil are crazy. And actually, if you have both of them, you do it twice.
Wow.
2 triggers, right?
Gross.
It's nuts. It gets crazy. I didn't resolve an Arjun in any of the games I played with this deck, but if I did, it was lights out. It was going to be over.
Do you also run Jace's Scrutiny?
Which one's that?
That 2-mana enchantment whenever you draw a card.
Oh, they
mill for 2.
You know what? I don't think I think
not Jace's Scrutiny. What is that? Anyway.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it was big. There was a standard deck that used it recently.
I thought about it, and I was like, is that going to be enough? Like, I guess I only need to draw half the cards that are there to mill someone out. I just don't know if it's because then if that gets removed, it's like, well, that didn't do anything. I can't really.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, if you're looking to fill up some graveyards though to cast extra spells, it's not too bad.
Yeah, maybe it's worth taking a look at. If you could go hard in that direction and
Sphinx's no, what is that?
Really
called?
do that. There's 2 Jace cards that do it. One does it for every
flips card
2 for 1, and one goes 1 for 1. Whenever
the 2 for 1 is the one.
2 for 1 is obviously the one, and it also has the ability you can loot on it, right? For 4 or something.
Yeah, that's for 6, I think.
No, I think it's 4.
I think
6,
maybe
no
5.
way.
It's not 4. It's more than 4.
Really?
Yeah, it's not. That's not why you play that card. You play that card to just do its thing.
Anyways, Arjun and Mind Moil. Mind Moil is a 5-mana enchantment, and Arjun's the 6-mana creature. They both do the same thing. Number 1 star, though, Psychosis Crawler. Sean ruined this by talking about it earlier.
I ruined it. It's ruined.
It's a 5-mana artifact creature. We talked about it already. It's the star. It's as big as how many cards are in your hand, and it deals damage to each. It's not even deals damage. They lose life, right? Yeah, they lose life whenever you draw a card, each of your opponents. So this guy's basically Niv Mizzet, but to everyone at once when you draw a card, on top of what Niv Mizzet does if you have him out as well. So he's basically redundancy for your commander. You can have Niv Mizzet or you can have this guy out. They're both. This guy's actually kind of better, except that he doesn't have the native ability on him to draw a card.
Right.
And he doesn't have flying and all that, obviously. So I mean, but they're pretty interchangeable.
Yeah.
For as far as the strategy of this deck goes. It's just a great card. I already mentioned I love this card, man. It's a Bomar Monk. It's basically a Star Wars creature in Magic. It's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Ooh.
We've just been delivered a message.
Oh, this is great.
We got a message here that says, we're doing great. love a lady goblin. Oh, wow. A lady goblin sent us a little message. Well, maybe we'll have to chat with her later on in the show.
The only other time we chatted with a lady goblin was in an Izzet deck. So
That's right.
Maybe this lady
wow.
goblin's around somewhere.
It would totally make sense that this episode we speak to another Izzet goblin.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's just teaser there.
Yeah. Anyways, those are the 3 stars of the deck. Those are the ones that do it. Psychosis Crawler and Cast Through Time. There's a lot of overlap here. I feel like any of our cards would be excellent in any other deck. Argent and Mind One might be the only, like, might not be that great for your deck. Like, they're okay, I guess, but, like, unless you're really abusing that ability, I'm not even sure that's something you really want.
Well, it's not a bad ability just to... I mean, I've also got an Argent deck in the works.
I noticed,
that I'm working on. I keep tuning it. I'm not ready to debut it yet in paper, but I'm keep tuning it. I think I'm gonna drop a bit of money on a card.
Ooh,
there's a card I really want for it.
What card could it be?
Well, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later.
Oh, I want to know.
I'm gonna use some of my credit at a store to use it. But what I'm getting at is that it's not. Sometimes it's just like, oh, I'm bored of these 5 cards. Oh, cool. You always find something exciting when you draw a whole bunch of new cards.
Right.
The only issue becomes when you're like, I want 2 cards that are in my hand, and I will only get one of them unless one is an instant, and I can cast it while it's on the stack.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we should. Yeah. When you build that, we should do an Argent because I feel like that's such an interesting build.
It's
tough. We kind of did do. Actually, we did do an Argent when we did the precons.
We did. Yeah, we did.
But like we didn't build it from the ground up, right? We took a lot of stuff that was there, and we went from there. But
that's a good. So we're almost at precon month again.
That's true. So we got big plans.
So last year when the precons came out, we'll do the same thing this year. We'll do we'll each pick a different one of the preloaded commanders from that deck, and just use our budget approach to only add $15 or so.
Right.
That's how we do. So we'll assume you bought the 35 for it. So you add another 15 for some singles, and you make the deck sizzle. Still for $50.
We're probably gonna be having some guests this month.
I hope so. Yeah.
This
that's
time
gonna
around.
be great. Yeah.
Getting some people to join us in doing that from other podcasts and from other areas of Commander.
Yeah.
No spoilers right now, but
no spoilers. Maybe someone who found a card on a street and
might just be a dude
and who just thinks they can be a guest.
That could happen. No question about it. But yeah, we'll because I think they announced that there's going to be 4 legendary creatures.
Legendaries in each.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a clue that they're all going to be monocolor on the top right, but have 3 colors in the identity, like to have like the other 4 colors in the bottom?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That would be the implication.
I don't know. Not necessarily. I think you could easily also say that it's like, okay, well, here's what I think. There's going to be a 4-color commander, like a proper 4-color commander. Yeah. Whether it's like, and that could be either way. That can be like 4 in the converted mana cost, or the Fate Reforged version, where they do, that whatever it is, that however they want to do that. It's one of those. I think then they'll do a 3-color commander, a 2-color commander, and then a monocolor commander.
Oh,
so like you'll be able to boil each down. Like, well, this is really the black deck, but then it's like it's got black white. Oh no, it's black white blue, and then it's black white blue red. You know what I mean? Like, I think maybe that's how they're going to do it. That'd be very
a great idea too. Reverse pyramid it.
Yeah.
And that way we get more, like we'll get another Sultai commander, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Depends
and like I think they'll stick to the idea because it didn't say new, so they're not making 4 new ones. So I think they'll probably stick to the way they've been doing it, which is like 2 new ones and then some reprints.
Fair.
That's what I think.
Fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going to be a big month. Stay tuned for that.
That'll be cool. Yeah, big month coming up for that.
Back to these, though. Any discoveries in the decks? I made a small discovery. I don't know if I like this card or not. I discovered it. It's new to me. I'm going to talk about it. It's called Reroute. I was thinking about cantrips. It's a 1 and a red that has the text draw a card on it. And the main ability is change the target of target activated ability with a single target. I feel like this comes up enough in some metas that it might be worth having in the deck. I don't know. It's extremely situational, but like if your meta has a rune in it or something like that, like I mean, like there's a lot of. I find myself wishing I could interact with activated abilities more.
Yes. One of my favorite things about my Afara deck is that I've got ways to counter activated abilities, which
It's
is
so hard to do.
People never see that coming. Void Mage Husher,
Yeah.
and the one they do see coming is the Azorius Guild Mage, but like it's a powerful thing to do it out of nowhere.
Because people are used to their activated abilities being sacred.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you know,
no one thinks you're ever going to stop one of those.
it's so rare.
Because no one's running, what's it called? Stifle.
Yeah,
Commander,
not really.
Right? Like
not really.
maybe you might see one occasionally.
I don't know.
But Void Mage Husher is the one that everyone's really on the lookout for if they're thinking about it, which is it's the flash creature that does it. But
so I
but
don't
that's
know.
blue.
Like,
You got red here.
Yeah,
which
I
is
don't-
basically the same thing.
and like I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna be good. Like it depends on the meta. And even like in a rune deck, it's like so I just gotta pick something new. So maybe I make you bounce one of my things for extra ETB. But this deck doesn't have a ton of ETB stuff that it wants to do that. So it's really just a minor delay of what you're already doing. I don't know if it's
Or essentially a counter spell to one of them. So it's like, oh, I want to use this on this. Like, well, now you have to do it to this guy's creature or my creature or
it
a
has
creature
to be
you
an
didn't.
activated ability.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I mean. Like, oh, I'm going to use my activated
Oh
ability.
sure.
I'm going to use my rogue's passage on this huge thing, and then I'll send it at you. But it's like, no, you've got to now target
Yeah.
my 1/1 with it. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Essentially countering it, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if I would, so I guess if you look at it that way as like a counter spell, quote unquote, for activated abilities, it's worth running because it cantrips, and in Jori En it cantrips for 2.
Yep. I think it's definitely if you would run Stifle, I think you can run Reroute and basically have the same effect.
Anyway, it's a gumball.
It's a gumball. Try it out.
Don't cost you much.
Try it out in some decks. It's a rare ability. You don't see it a lot, so people definitely won't see it coming. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't find anything new.
Fair.
Mostly because when we did the Izzet pre-cons last year, that's a lot of these cards are from that, and a lot of the strategies from that. And plus, we just did another Niv Mizzet deck earlier, so not a lot of surprises here for me.
Fair.
We already talked about Wizard's Tower, but we'll mention them again real quick. WizardTower.com. Go there. Use our code Tower of Brews. Get 5% off your order of singles, $15 or more. They got free shipping in Canada and the U.S. They have a U.S. store too. And also check out mtgcanada.com and check out our articles.
Yeah, please do that. Yeah, give us some feedback on those if you.
Yeah, and if you would like, if you have any ideas for topics for articles, shoot them at us.
Yeah, that's a chance for us to kind of chat about stuff that doesn't fit in the podcast necessarily. But if you're like, can you guys talk about this? But it doesn't make sense for a podcast episode, maybe it's going to be an article.
We've definitely had people ask us about things like that, right? Where it's like, it's not, because we don't just write about budget.
No.
When it comes to MTG Canada, it's just Commander in general.
Yeah.
So it can be anything.
Yeah.
We're not sticking to budget for those articles. So if you ever wanted to hear us talk about, I don't know, Kiki Jiki or something, some expensive card we never talk about, like maybe suggest a topic for articles. We'll take a look at them for sure. Okay, now that that's done, it's time for the budget report.
This is where we take all the cards. We see which one draws us 1 card, which one draws us 2 cards. The ones that draw the most cards are the ones we're going to keep. The ones that don't draw the cards, stay home.
That is actually what we're going to do. You didn't even go that far off of what we're actually going to do
No
here.
way, man.
The cards that draw a lot of cards are the ones we're going to keep, and the ones that only draw us 1 card, we don't really want. It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
AKA keep the good, bad stuff's out.
Yeah, exactly.
So this Jori En deck rolls in at $48.81. If you wanted to play it online, it's 8.75 tickets. The most expensive card in the deck is Alhamaret's Archive. $370. This is a 5-mana legendary artifact. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. I think there's 1 card that gains life, and it's the land that gains 1 life when it comes into play.
Okay, great.
But besides that, it says if you would draw a card, except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. This is our thought reflection. This doubles Jori En's ability every time.
Yes, it's great. You should have this in your Niv Mizzet deck too, actually, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Make some
it's
room
the
for
most
it.
expensive card, but it's less than $5. It's less than $4. I think it's worth it. Second most expensive card, Chasm Skulker. This one crept up.
It is, yeah.
We talked about it. It's the one that gets counters on it. The reason it's expensive, I think, is because it's so good. It gets enormous.
It's from a core set.
Yeah.
I think that's why. It's only been printed in a core set.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just great. Like you get those squiddies when it dies.
Love those little squiddies.
Yeah, very. So I mean, I do think it's worth it. It's one of the ways you're going to just destroy your opponents. Get an archetype of imagination out, swing for a 30. Very easy to do. And then let's talk about knowledge exploitation.
Ooh.
It's expensive. It's 5 blue. In monetarily, it's 325. 13 gumballs. It's a tribal sorcery rogue, but it has prowl, 3 and a blue. You may play this for its prowl cost if you dealt combat damage with a rogue. I don't think we have rogues.
Not a lot of rogues there, yeah.
But here's what it does, and this is key. Any card that does this sort of thing, search target opponent's library for an instant or sorcery card. You may play that card without paying its mana cost, then that player shuffles his or her library. Huge. And the fact that it has that magical text on it. You cast Knowledge Exploitation. The spell that you cast for free is automatically your second spell of the turn.
Right.
So this right here is a built-in two spell card.
Right.
So these are key in the deck. There's a few others I didn't talk about that give you your second spell for Jori En immediately. Keep.
Nice. That's all of them.
Yeah,
right?
That's for me. That's my budget report.
Bucks. Okay, my budget report is just a bit more, $49.38, but 15 tickets online. I think it's because it's got a few cards from the precon, like I said, and precon cards are generally more expensive online because no one plays Commander online. So Argent is probably a bit more, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, the most expensive card in the deck is not... I mean, it's Lightning Greaves. If you're watching YouTube, it's not this version of Lightning Greaves.
It's not the Inventions
one?
the
$54 one. No, it's a classic version. But Lightning Greaves, we all know this one. It's the 2-mana artifact that equips for 0, and it gives the creature haste and shroud. I don't put this in a lot of the budget builds.
Because Swiftfoot Boots is a fine alternative.
Exactly, because it's a great alternative, and there's some other ways to get hexproof and stuff. But Greaves... it's so important to protect Niv Mizzet. The whole strategy here revolves around Niv Mizzet. And if it's not Niv Mizzet, it's Psychosis Crawler or whatever. So you really, really, really want to protect those creatures. So
Greaves and Boots.
Greaves and Boots are essential. And then like counter spells, that's what you want to use your counter spells for is to protect your commander in this deck. So yeah, Lightning Greaves, very important. It's up to like $3.70. It's almost $4. It's almost getting back up to that $6 range, really. Hopefully they'll reprint it again in the new precons.
Yeah, man.
I would love them
and
to.
hopefully not in one of the 5 like they did last time.
Yeah, I know, right? Like
give it in all of us.
Give it to us, man.
We don't need more Swiftfoot Boots. We need more Lightning Greaves.
I think it was in 2 of the decks. I think that's what an uncommon means. So when you get your precons, the stuff that's in a lot of them are commons. The stuff that's in like the rares are only in one deck.
Huh.
Mythics are only in one deck. And the uncommons, I think there's 2 of them. They're in 3 decks. They're in 2 decks or something. I noticed that last year.
That's very astute of you, Andy.
Yeah.
Can we please still have more Lightning Greaves?
Please, right? Please. We like them a lot. They're very good. They're essential. So that's the most expensive. The next most expensive is Soul Ring.
We stopped counting Soul Ring.
And we stopped counting Soul Ring. So we move right along to Magus of the Wheel, which is coming in at just under $3. It's the 2 and a red, 3/3 human wizard that pays 1 and a red, and you Wheel of Fortune. So everyone discards and draws up to 7.
Yeah. So this is one of those key up to 7s. These are very hard to attain budget.
This one, of course, was printed in the. It was a new card. Wow, it's only been printed in Commander.
Huh.
I did not know that.
They didn't make any more so they made a bunch of Maguses over the years, but I guess they ignored this guy.
Wow. I didn't. I'm learning this currently. Yeah, it says right here, editions, Commander 2015. So this wasn't printed before this. This is the first printing of it.
Cool.
Neat. Well, anyways, it's a very good card, and it's the Maguses, as we all know as Commander players, are fine replacements for their instant and sorcery brothers.
Yeah.
So
they usually take a turn to be active because they don't have haste.
Yep.
And they can be killed easier, but I mean,
you know
that's a fair trade-off to save $30.
Exactly. It really is. It really is. So Magus of the Wheel is great. So instead of Soul Ring, which was like $3, whatever, is pretty essential in this deck. I will say that. But the next most expensive card, technically the 4th, is Reliquary Tower. We don't talk about lands ever in this
hardly ever
podcast, really, and that's a shame because lands are super important.
Yeah.
Especially when you can get an ability like this out of them. I'm sure you guys know about Reliquary Tower, but it's the land. It's colorless. It says you have no maximum hand size. and it taps to make 1 colorless. It's about $3 in a car in an Izzet deck where you're drawing a lot. It's essential to get this ability on a land. It's not taking up another card slot. It's very, very good. Even still having this card in your deck, you still might want to put in. Well, we definitely run a Thought Vessel. You might even want to run something like Library of Lang, which is one of those 0 mana artifacts that lets you have no maximum hand size. This card's been reprinted a bunch, and it's about $3. Luckily, we did get it in the pre-con last year, and hopefully, we'll see more of them again.
You taught me how to use this land the most effectively through your actions. You weren't trying to teach us.
What do you mean?
You were playing a deck that drew 1 million cards, and if you know this is in your... So my habit is to draw for turn, play a land, then take my turn.
Right.
But if you have Reliquary Tower in your deck and you're going to do a bunch of shenanigans, you should probably hold off playing that land for turn to see if you draw this.
Right, yeah.
So that you get to play this as your land and keep all them cards you just drew. My habit has burned me on this every time.
Oh, really?
I always... my habit is... I basically know the game to be untap, upkeep, draw, play, land.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
really?
sort of how my brain thinks of the game.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to remember if I played a land or not. But then if I draw a land later that I would rather play, I get screwed.
I still do burn myself on that a lot. Not specifically with Reliquary Tower, but just in general with like different lands. It's like, oh man, I could have played this better land. I'm so dumb. I already played my basic.
Yeah.
But Reliquary Tower, that's a great point. You should always, if you have this in your deck and it's one of those big draw decks, like hold off on playing that land, and you might get this one, and you'll be happy when you do because then you won't have to discard all your stuff.
Yeah.
Excellent commander card. Almost goes in every deck. Really, you really want this. So pick one of these up for your staple binder. You'll find yourself using it a lot. But that's it. Under 50. Both of us did it. Is it in the banks?
Is it in the bank? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Getting interest. What a guild.
I
love this guild.
It's my least favorite guild, to be perfectly honest with you. But is it really? No, I'm not even sure if it is. Maybe Dimir. No, it's
Boros.
Izzet. Yeah, maybe it's Boros. Maybe it is. But I like white a lot.
Everybody likes white.
I
one
like
likes
blue
Boros.
a lot too. You're right. Maybe Boros. Oh, I feel bad now.
Well, you didn't feel bad saying Izzet
no,
was
because
the worst?
everyone loves Izzet. Everyone loves Izzet.
Oh, you just feel bad.
I feel bad
because
like poor Boros. Everyone hates Boros.
Yeah, poor Boros.
And it's just because of its performance in Commander. I like Boros in every other thing.
It's great in draft very often.
Yeah, very often. Nice aggressive deck. Whereas Izzet sometimes flounders. It's tough, right? It's based on instant and sorceries. That's sometimes a tough deck to put together.
Yeah, I guess the fact that Melek looks so good on its paper, but is so hard to do.
I really want to take up the challenge of doing a Melek deck, but I already built Niv Mizzet. So
I should probably throw a Melek and Jori En.
I thought about that. Yeah, I did. It's pretty good.
Not to focus on it, but if you can get that double on there, why not?
Want to laugh? A little extra air in my mouth there. Got to get that out. Yeah. So yeah. Man, Izzet was good.
Is it over?
It is it.
Stay tuned for the Commander interview, which we'll have later. October 30th, Brew and Brawl in costume. Get us them costume suggestions.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Next episode, we will have a contest to announce. Am I right?
Yes, we have a contest coming.
We will have a big contest coming, and it's going to be for a big prize.
Get stoked.
But until then, we'll be back with the Commander interview in a bit. We'll be back. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Commander's Brew Commander interview. Sean is actually here.
Wow. You know what? I was going, I heard the ice cream truck go, but I decided, you know what? I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stick around for this interview this time.
Yeah, and you know what? I do have a shift at the belt factory right now, but I'm just going to be late for it.
All right, because we have a very special interview with you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very special goblin named Dave. Say hello, Dave.
Hey.
Hey, Dave. How are you?
I'm good. I'm red and blue.
You are red and blue. Dave is one of the only Izzet goblins from the plane of Ravnica, of course.
Of course, you're from Ravnica.
Ravnica. Holla holla.
Yeah, holla at Ravnica. The only other blue-red goblin being, of course, Mythics of the Is Magnus.
Ms. Magnus. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So anyways, Dave, we wanted to ask you, like, what's it like being sort of the only other red-blue goblin? What's it like being such a rare goblin?
It's pretty sick. Everybody wants me.
So what are your abilities, actually? We've never seen the card Dave the Izzet goblin, but yeah, tell us what your abilities are.
I got 4 attack, and I got 5 defense.
So you're a 4/5. That's a big goblin.
That's big.
I'm a huge goblin, brother.
Oh wow, so that's really cool. So like, do you have any like abilities? Like,
Yeah, if too many people are coming at me, I can just say one word, and they all go away.
they all go away?
So it sounds like it's a tap ability that lets you exile attacking creatures.
Or maybe just return them to their owner's hand? Which one? Which one?
They blow up.
Oh, they blow
Destroy.
up. So it's the red
Destroy.
side of
Yeah,
you there.
yeah,
doing
okay.
that. Yeah. Wow. There you go. So Dave, have you lived on Ravnica your whole life?
No, I used to live in Ohio.
Interesting. Ohio, United States, on Earth plane.
Yeah.
Are you you're a planeswalker then?
Yeah.
You walk planes.
I walk planes.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So
So
ride in them.
You also ride in planes. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yep.
Different kind of planes there.
Yeah, both.
Yes, both. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Dave, it is such an honor to have you here, Red and Blue Goblin. What are your? Do you have any like dreams? What do you aspire to?
Oh, I want to be a rapper / DJ.
A rapper, DJ. Cool. Who are your inspiration?
Drake, DJ Sports, and
Sports. That's Andy. Did you know
Yeah.
that's Andy, our co-host?
What?
You're
That's
sitting
me. Yeah.
with.
That's my DJ
You're
name.
sitting with DJ
I'm
Sports.
only, oh my, I'm so embarrassed. Oh,
No, don't be embarrassed. I'm not even really a real DJ.
what?
I mostly just play songs at my friends' weddings.
What?
No, it's real. No, never mind. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, okay,
Well,
great.
and Dave, I also would like to add, most people know me as Sean,
Yeah.
but I do live in Toronto.
Ooh.
I did start at the bottom. Now I'm here.
Oh, Drake.
Sean is Drake.
I'm
Drake.
actually
oh my
Drake.
God, I should have known this stuff before I came on.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not Drake.
Sean's not Drake. But we do.
Sean's not Drake.
Sean's not Drake. But listen, Dave,
Yeah.
you're a goblin. How did you come to? Like, how was Ohio for you? Like, how does that work out? How did you get to be on Ohio?
A wizard sent me there.
Okay, so you're from Ohio, but a wizard sent you there?
Oh, I'm from space.
You're from space.
Yeah, like I started in space.
Space.
A space wizard sent me to Ohio,
Oh, wow.
gave me my powers, and then I went to Izzet?
Then you went to the Izzet League on
Yes,
Ravnica.
On Ravnica, yes.
Yes,
I went
yeah,
to
yeah.
Ravnica.
And that's where you sort of found your home. So
Yeah.
you have all these miraculous powers. You can
Yeah.
exist in space
Yeah.
without dying.
Yeah, float. I can float
You can
around.
float. I mean, everyone floats in space, really. Not even really a special power, you might say.
Okay, well, that's what you say.
But you are a planeswalker.
Yeah, well,
and
I'm-
you've a very powerful one, it sounds like. You
I
can
can-
blow up any attacking creatures,
Yeah.
just by,
Don't
not-
forget about riding in planes. I can do that
you also
too.
can ride in planes, right? That's great. So, like, you've got all these powers at your
Yeah.
disposal. Why rapper DJ? What's that? Like, what appeals to you about that?
You don't always end up doing what you're good at. Sometimes you just want to do other stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes your dreams aren't. I know a friend who was really good at golf, but she gave it up to be an actress.
That sounds like my wife.
Oh.
And I wouldn't say she was really good at golf. She was promisingly good when she
Yeah,
first
that's
played.
what I mean, though.
Yeah,
She could have done it. But
maybe.
she didn't.
But she
The
decided
lessons
not
were
to.
too long.
Lessons were too long. She didn't like learning things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I got tired of the whole game, just like fighting people all the time. And like people forcing me to do it in these little cards.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I want to chill out.
Yeah.
But then somebody brings their deck out and I gotta fight people.
That's
And
true.
it's pretty brutal, man. How do you feel if you're having your Sunday coffee
Mm-hmm.
and then someone's like, I want to go play this, and then they put you on a table and then you gotta fight your friends,
That would probably be pretty stressful.
right?
That would be very stressful.
So let me get this straight. You want to leave the Magic game
Yeah,
and you want to get into the rap game.
yeah,
That's a stressful game also.
yeah. But it's what I want. I can control it.
Ah, I see. You want that control. That's a very Izzet way of looking at it.
So in a sense, you just want what all of us want, and that is to take command of your life and not let fate decide.
Yeah.
To just take the life by the reins and just follow your dreams. I respect that, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, do you have any final words for us? Words of wisdom, perhaps?
Maybe a rap?
I would love to hear a rap from our Izzet Goblin.
Oh, we would love that.
Please rap. Okay,
about
ready?
Magic cards.
Okay, please do a rap about magic cards. Here we go. Do you want a beat or anything, or are you just going to acapella?
I'll just acapella.
You just acapella. Okay, great.
Hey, 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 Andy and Sean play magic, and they're so good, that magic.
Okay, well.
Wow. Do you mind if I add to your freestyle?
Yeah,
a little
please.
bit?
Because that freestyle, it was really just sort of the start of one. It didn't even really rhyme or anything.
Okay. So Andy and Sean play magic. They're really good, right? Yo, sitting to my right is a goblin named Dave. He's drinking his coffee every day. Don't play the card because he don't come out to play. He'd rather go back into do his rap game.
Okay, it's your turn,
Okay,
Andy.
no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, no, you got to do a little bit.
No, I'm not going to do that. That's not
Just
good.
sing a song about it then.
Okay, Dave the Goblin, he's got a mustache and some dirty old hair. And he says he can live in space, but I don't know if I believe him. It's a country song.
It's a burn on me.
It's a huge burn on you. But thank you for being here, Dave.
Thank you.
I know you have to run.
I got to run. I got to get food for my cat because she's sick.
Oh, just real life.
Just real life.
Just real life on that one.
So Dave, may I offer you a
Yeah. But a very thoughtful, because this is it. You're an Izzet Goblin, obviously.
Izzet.
A lot of
Is it?
contemplating. Is it?
Is it?
That's the joke.
even Dave, who barely knows anything about magic, goes to that joke.
Goes to the Izzet joke, yeah.
Everyone goes to that joke,
Yeah,
no
of
matter
course.
what. Is it? Question mark.
Is it?
It is. Thank you very much, Dave, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you guys next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
If you want to contact us, you can do so on Twitter at Commanders Brew. Individually, we are,
At Andy Hobone.
and I'm at Sean Tabaris. Or send us a Gmail, commandersbrew@gmail.com.
Also, you can check out all of our decks on tappedout.net/users/commandersbrew. And you can go to patreon.com if you'd like to donate and help support the show.
And if you want to check all this out in one place, go to commandersbrew.com for all this info.